Hello fellow humans, Edelbrack Smith here, and this is the Cloud Gaming Pastcast for the week of 5/18/2020. In the news this week, we've got a Stadia PR blunder, new games on Geforce Now, a new game streaming patent from Sony that could be a real game changer, and Nvidia releases a new VR game streaming SDK for developers. Let's start off with some happy news. Ubisoft said in a conference call that their games are, quote, doing well on Stadia. Ubisoft is even using the cloud gaming service to enable their developers to review the games from the comfort of their own home, which is probably a good thing given that Nurgle has turned his eye on this small blue planet and does not look to be easily distracted. This is all great stuff, and Ubisoft at least seems to be very much behind game streaming, both with Stadia and Geforce Now. Speaking of Geforce Now, support for 17 new games was announced. Mostly smaller games this time, but there were some fantastic standouts. Like last time, let's take a quick look at 3 of them, starting with Europa Universalis 3 Complete Edition. According to the store page, unparalleled in its depth and historical accuracy, Europa Universalis gives players the freedom to rule any nation from an impressive choice of over 250 countries. This game is a history buff's paradise, but don't turn the channel just yet if you don't know the difference between the 1,000 Years' War and the 100 Years' War. As a hint, it's more than just the number of years. The cool thing with this game is that you can play a large number of countries and you can pick what year you begin in. This means that it will keep everything historically accurate up until your starting year, where you are free to begin changing history in whatever way you can manage. Want to have Rome rise up and retake Europe? Sure. Want to spread Catholicism or Islam or some other religion to the 4 corners of the world? Then do it. It can be overwhelming, but if you've got what it takes to get into it, you'll find thousands of hours of gameplay. It's also perfect for Geforce Now because of the simplistic graphics and the slow nature of the gameplay. Network hiccups are not going to be as visible or impactful here, so it's a great one to play if your connection isn't the strongest. Children of Morta, on the other hand, is a top-down, story-heavy action game. From the store page, Children of Morta is a story-driven action RPG game about an extraordinary family of heroes. Lead the Bergsons with all their flaws and virtues against the forthcoming corruption. Will you be able to sacrifice everything to save the ones you care for? It's got a very Bastion or original Legacy of Kain vibe, with a strong voiceover providing narration for the dark happenings. You level up, get new abilities, and team up with your family to take on intense combat challenges and explore a beautifully crafted world. You'll want a decently strong connection for this one, as you'll need the smooth gameplay to get the best experience. Finally, let's talk about Risen 2 Dark Waters. From the store page, set several years after the end of Risen, raging titans have devastated the world and pushed humanity to the brink of existence. Subsequently, monstrous creatures have risen from the watery depths of the sea. Their attacks have brought all seafaring to a grinding halt. Don't worry about playing the first one, it's a good game in its own right, but you won't be missing out on much. The game is a third-person RPG that is very reminiscent of Gothic, and for good reason, as it's the same developers. This time, it's more of a tropical island pirate theme, complete with sword fighting, pistols, and monkeys. The game is not a AAA game, but neither is it the kind of B game that you would laugh at. I'd label it a solid A game, I guess. You'll find plenty of jank, and the combat starts kind of bad, but if you spend the time to get into it, you'll find an interesting setting and mechanics that are a real treat. Let's talk about some of the big news now, starting with Mafia Trilogy coming to Stadia. Maybe. Probably. Is it? Well, it turns out it is, but not for a while. Many in the community expected the game to drop this week on Stadia, but there was only silence. At least at first. 2K ended up announcing that the release date for the Epic Games Store and Stadia had been pushed back due to the current plague, but it wasn't enough for many in the Stadia community. One of the major feelings going around seems to be that Google should have gotten out in front of this and let players know that the game had been delayed. Now, personally, I was really revving up to play through the Mafia games again and provide reviews on them, but it looks like I'll have to wait on that. I guess I could read some patent information for you. Sony has a patent application for a new game streaming technology. Now, I'm no expert on patents, and the wording here leaves a lot to be desired, but it appears to be a patent for technology that allows a user to start a game locally, say on the PS5, and then have that game shift to cloud streaming. The stated goal is to reduce wait times when loading a game. Now, at first glance, this doesn't really make much sense to me. Why would we start a game locally, have it boot up, load into the game, and then have streaming take over? How does that improve the experience? Well, imagine this. You're playing a game like God of War. You're getting near the next section, and it's going to have to load in, but it can't do that while a bunch of other stuff is going on, otherwise the game will lag and chug. So, instead, it fires a message to the cloud server to prepare the next section. When you get there, you transfer seamlessly to the version running in the cloud. Then, when your local system is finished loading, it seamlessly transitions back into local play. This could be massive if that's what that means, and if it works well. A slight degrade in visual quality every now and then for the truly seamless experience with no loading times could really be a cool feature. And in our final piece of news today, Nvidia has launched a new SDK for developers called CloudXR. Its purpose is to stream virtual, augmented, and mixed reality content from a server to a client. That's right, it's Geforce Now, but for VR. Hell, it's even more than that. One of the barriers to entry with VR is the large investment cost. Roughly $1,000 for a VR setup, plus another $1,000 plus for the PC to run it. Sure, Oculus made some progress there with the Quest, but there were some serious trade-offs. You couldn't play all your VR games, and the quality wasn't as good, and the headset is still bulky. But streaming VR could fix a lot of these issues. Imagine a 5G connected headset, much smaller and lighter because it doesn't need to do all this processing, and the cost could be much cheaper than current systems, even cheaper than the Quest. Also, no cords to trip on or get wrapped up in? That could be the future of VR. But of course, if Geforce Now is any indication, it's going to be a while yet. My experience with GFN is spotty, and I mean that literally. It's always a spotty connection on the verge of failing completely for me. I don't know if you've played much VR, but video lag and stutter can really wreck your stomach like nothing I've ever experienced. And I don't get VR motion sickness much. Still, give it a few years and this could be the way VR becomes truly mainstream. Well, that's it for last week's news. Make sure to like the video whether you liked it or not, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss reviews, news, and all things cloud gaming. Edelbrack Smith, signing out.